What's up guys, we're back in Palm Springs. It's been a while since we did an update video and there's a reason why. But first, let's look back at where we've been because this has been a big project. As you remember, we picked this up back in December. Originally, we were supposed to have it finished in March, but there were some delays with the city, some delays with the permit, and then a little bit of contractor drama. So I'm gonna touch on that in a moment. But first, let's look back at where we started. When we first picked this up, it had not been touched since the 70s. There was a lot of issues with the project. There was a lot of mold, there was damages, there was deferred maintenance, there was a weird kitchen situation, and there's a lot of stuff that we removed and changed that you're definitely gonna see apparent in today's video. But I also wanna show you where we were on the last update video, which was when the demo was complete. We walked through, we showed you guys what we had planned and everything that was removed. But now we're back on site today, and I actually have the new contractor here to walk through the project with us, show you guys all the changes. I haven't even seen it yet. I'm really excited to see it all because it looks completely different. Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna introduce you to him in 1 second. This is Aaron, but if you guys actually remember our Dana Point construction project that we did 2 years ago, he was the contractor behind that whole project. It turned out great. So we had some issues here, as well as our Costa Mesa project, which you guys have seen multiple updates for. And there was some contractor drama. We ended up firing the last contractor who was working on this and also the Costa Mesa project. And we brought in Aaron, who is much more experienced, much more knowledgeable, and he'll tell you exactly what he found when he took over this project. So Aaron, if you want to introduce yourself and talk about some of the issues we found.
Definitely, yeah. My name is Aaron. I've been doing this for about 16 years. A lot of things I've seen. When I first bought into the project, there was a lot of different issues that we saw with like electrical and plumbing. We'll kind of give you some details later and we'll show you what the issues were. There's a couple of other small stuff as well that we'll go into detail as well.
So Aaron has a huge, extensive background, does a lot of projects, but this is your first in Palm Springs.
Yeah, it was a little difficult. We had about 2 weeks to create a whole team and bring them out here. I usually do about Orange County projects. I don't come out here. It's been a good experience, a little bit of trouble getting everybody together, but I think at the end of it, it worked out really nicely.
The thing with Palm Springs is there's 2 different selling seasons. So we had to get this done and finished before the end of April in order to hit the first selling season, or else we would have been screwed. We wouldn't have been able to actually list it until the fall, because it just gets so hot out here in the summer that a lot of stuff sits on market, and that's the last thing you want to have happen to your Zillow listing when you're trying to move a unit that you just flipped. So with that being said, I want to show you guys all the finishes. I'm already looking around, seeing the big changes. There's a lot of exciting stuff to show. So why don't we start with the kitchen?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or do you want to start with this room where we're in?
We can start here too, yeah.
Okay, so you've done a lot of work in here. Obviously the flooring's different, the fireplace is different, the bar looks great.
Oh yeah.
And just real quick guys, to give you a glimpse of what it used to look like, here is an overview of what it looked like literally before we showed up today. So Aaron has done all of this, so if you want to touch on it.
Yeah, definitely. So we completely redid the flooring. We put baseboards in. I think the fireplace is the biggest thing that we've changed. It's like what, 1950s, old school?
Yeah, I mean, most of the units that have been flipped in this building have never touched the fireplace. So this will be the first comp where it's actually a brand new modern fireplace finish. Yeah. So it looks great.
And this is a trick of mine. So it looks like we've done a lot more work than we actually have. This is the trick that maybe I'll share later in detail, but it kind of gives it a finished look of a stone without really doing any of that work. So we're obviously gonna finish the inside with a little bit of those decorative rocks as well. We also put in a bar area here with cabinets and a wine fridge. It's going to have 2 floating shelves as well above here. And then obviously lighting. We replaced all the plugs and switches to kind of modernize it so it kind of makes sense with more of a mid-century.
Well, real quick, let's talk about, I mean, guys, he had 2 weeks to do all this. There was a sink here, there was electrical that had to be redone. I mean, all of this was ripped out. This is all brand new cabinets, which we're going to talk about more when we go to the kitchen. It's going to all tie in to match literally the kitchen and the bathroom. Everything's being tied together. But to do this all in only 2 weeks, it's a testament to how fast this team works.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we had nobody here, so it was an experience for sure.
So let's talk about the flooring. We went with vinyl.
Yeah, luxury vinyl on the flooring, yep. And then we went with a wider planks. They typically come about 3 to 4 feet. We went to 5 feet. There's less repetition.
Well, and tell them about how you do the staggering and how some builders don't.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important to call this out for anybody who's thinking about doing a project similar.
Definitely. So there's something called the 50-50 stagger, which a lot of builders do. In my opinion, it creates the stamp and repeat that really doesn't look good, and you can kind of start lining up the lines on the floor. So what we do is we actually start to stagger it. So if you look at the flooring, there's literally probably about 10 different sizes that are put together. So it creates this random pattern. It really looks like a real wood without obviously paying for a real wood. So I really like the look of it. That's what we typically do for all our projects.
And it's a little bit thicker than like the typical vinyl or laminate that you'd buy in a store. So it feels a lot more luxurious. You don't have the popping feel that you'd get in some cheaper builds. And obviously there's some flooring issues here that you guys ran into because this was built in the 70s. I mean, it's a really old building. So how did you guys get around making sure that you didn't?
So 2 different things we do. We obviously put padding down for noise transference, because it's obviously there's a person living below this unit, and then also we do the floating. So we float the whole area with concrete to kind of eliminate all the highs and lows of the flooring, and then we go ahead and put the padding on and then install the flooring on top of that.
It makes the room feel a lot bigger because obviously the mirrored wall's gone. If you guys remember that, straight from the 70s, took all that out. Aaron's team spent the last few days painting this. Looks really good, but I think the flooring being so light, not only does it transition well to the outdoor patio finishes, because that was another issue we ran into, is all the different patios have finishes that are completely different for one reason or another. We don't know why, but I think now it just blends everything together a lot better, and it has kind of that desert tone and desert finish that we were really going for. So next, I want to touch on the kitchen because there's been a lot of changes since you guys were last here. If you remember when we bought it, there was a full wall right here that was ripped out. There was fluorescent lighting from the 70s back here. And again, it's a small kitchen because we're only working with about 600 square feet. But Aaron and his team have done a great job designing the cabinet flow and making sure that we can fit in all of the appliances that we need to have to compete with the other Zillow listings. So one of them being a dishwasher. We had to make sure we could fit a dishwasher in here. We wanted a proper size sink. We wanted a good stove with microwave. We did run into one issue with the fridge. We didn't think this through. We went the French door for a better look, but unfortunately it hits the wall and doesn't allow you to open it fully. So we're gonna be replacing this guy. But I do wanna show you guys what we have planned. So we went with the walnut finishes, and I'm gonna let Aaron talk more about kind of the style and texture and how these are put together, because there's a specific word for it. But I do want to show you guys what we have planned, which is kind of this brush, or not brushes, it's gloss nickel finishes, and it's going to look really good in here.
Yeah.
Some of them are handles, some of them are knobs, and here is one that kind of shows you guys the texture. So it's just a bit of a step up from a normal handle that you'd find, especially at this price point. I think, it's not a high price point, but buyers still want that luxury feel. And that was really important for us, is to not skimp on finishes, but we're not going the most expensive, but we're making it feel luxury. So Aaron, if you want to talk about, what style wood this is and how you guys basically assemble all this, and then also the countertops.
Yep.
I think they'd love to hear about that.
Perfect. Yeah, so these style of cabinets are called European style cabinets. So they're frameless. As you can see, you can't see the frame of the cabinets because the doors cover them. They're what's considered a thermofoil, very durable, and it kind of fits that mid-century modern type of look. I'll show you some details of the inside of the kitchen where we kind of have to keep in mind. A lot of times people don't consider putting spacers in the cabinets because it has to obviously clear for like the stove being here or the cabinets opening up and not hitting things. So it has to be obviously done up right.
Yeah, like think about this. If you have the dishwasher right here, right, and it opens out, if you don't have the space here, you're gonna hit this handle that's right here. And the last contractor that we had before we fired him hadn't thought that through. He had already started laying out the kitchen, and I go to him, I'm not gonna say his name, I'm gonna say, how are you gonna open the dishwasher? He's like, oh, well, we gotta redo all the cabinets. And that, amongst other issues that we're gonna point out, was part of the reason why we fired him. But planning came in and
planning is number one. I think being able to plan accordingly. Obviously, things like the fridge happen, but mostly cabinets, because they're a big ticket item and they take a long time to get ready and customize. So we want to make sure once those are in, it's like perfect and we don't have to make any changes. Another thing that I want to point out as well, between the spacing and measurement. So we have a sliding glass door that's here. We have to calculate to have the appliances fit, cabinets have enough storage, but also clear the windows or sliders as well. Obviously we have to get this approved by the association, right? So this is a bigger ticket item that we have to do later. It takes a lot of time, but I also wanted to give somebody else an option of, we're gonna extend the countertops to here so we can have seating, but obviously I wanted to have a little bit of space so in the future, the owner that's gonna end up buying this place can replace it if they need to without running into too many issues.
Well, it's little details too, so like, we put storage on this side, right? When you're in a unit this small, you gotta pack in as much storage as you possibly can. We're gonna show you a few more little tricks that we did, and obviously there's more storage over at the bar, but it's little things like that having the right contractor to pay attention to little details and little nuances is really important on top of the finishes that you're thinking about. So if you're doing a project like this, make sure you hire the right people. All right, so we're gonna move back to the laundry area, the bedroom, and the bathroom. The laundry area, if you guys remember, when we bought this unit, the previous owner had basically tacked on 2x4s. So it was a really weird situation where they were trying to basically cover and close in the laundry, but they didn't buy a proper stack. They just had two individual washer dryer units that they had attempted to create into a stack. So it created this really weird, basically bump out that they had added onto the wall with a bunch of weird texturing. So Aaron and his team have come in, they've redone all of that. He's got a great idea for how to basically enclose this and make it look a lot better, if you want to speak to it real quick.
Yeah. So I didn't know that there was a shelf here before, so I kind of figured that too late in the game of being brought in. But I always like to do the bifold doors here. Creates a nice separation because you would hate to come into the house and the first thing you see is like stackable washer and dryers. So what we did was we kind of floated this out. We put a header on here. We finished obviously the exposed 2x4s that are on the side. What we're gonna do is install on the top part here a bifold. So as soon as it bifolds here, you have plenty of space to access the washer and dryer. And then also when you enclose it, it looks good because then when you walk by it, it just looks like a closet and is a lot more professional looking.
Yeah, so this will look really good. Obviously, with a unit this small, having laundry in place is huge. So we definitely wanted to make sure that we did this right. But on the other side of this is the bathroom. And this is where we ran into some of the big issues with the last contractor. I'll let Aaron touch on that in a moment. But I do want to show you guys, it's not finished yet. It's still a work in progress, but we've got all new tile on the bottom. In the shower pan, I mean, Aaron's team did a great job. They actually surprised us with this tile finish. Just really good texture. Brings in kind of the desert tones we were talking about. It's going to make it look and feel much more custom, much more luxurious. And then obviously we carried through the same cabinetry with the walnut finishes, same countertop style as the kitchen and the bar. We're going to put a mirror over here, single sink, because it's probably only going to be one or maybe a couple living here, so we don't need the double vanity, especially with the toilet right here. It'd make it a little weird accessing it. So we went with one sink with extra storage and a much bigger counter space, bigger mirror, all of that. So Aaron, if you want to come in and talk about the issues you guys found when you opened this up for the first time.
So you can kind of see, we replaced a lot of the damaged lumber. So obviously in showers, the number one thing you see is water damage. So there's a lot of damage that we have to replace. But the stuff that you can see from the old contractor is he actually, instead of removing the pipes and putting a protective layer there before welding, he obviously welded right against still, so damaged that. There was also leaks going on the other side as well. So if you want to show this side, we completely redid, this kind of backs up into the laundry area. So we completely redid it. We put a recess box because when you put a stackable in a closet like that, there's a limited space. So you really got to be careful of how you put the components so you don't run into problems or have the stackable stick out more than where you need to. So we recess all the components here so that way you can push it all the way back, gain as much space, and then be able to put that bifold on. I love doing mosaics on the floor for showers. Two different things. Stylish looks way better than just typically keeping it basic. Second thing is it actually provides traction, so then you're not going to slip when you're taking a shower, which is really nice. What we're going to do here, which is happening today, and we'll give you a little sneak peek of it as well, we're going to put some waterproof paneling up first, and then we're going to put those solid quartz 1/2 inch panels up. I really like that, and then also go with the linear shampoo box. This is a personal thing of mine. I think people make a mistake of going with a much smaller shampoo box, because what happens is when you frame a small shampoo box, you have to allow for all the materials that are going to be in there as well. So they, plan for a 15 inch, but by the time you put all the materials, it's only about 10 inches, and then you can't really fit a lot of items in there. So I like to go with a linear one, matches the modern look of the house, and also provides a bunch of space for people to keep all their things in there. And then what we're gonna do is after we're gonna put a shower panel here, much more of an open feel instead of putting a door, because there's a lot of components between the door here and the toilet and the cabinets and stuff like that. So it's gonna look really nice. So we'll give you a sneak peek when it's all done.
All right, so we're gonna head to the bedroom next. Not a ton of changes in here, but enough to kind of talk to you guys about.
We actually updated the hardware as well on the doors. It makes a huge difference. I like when it has a plate on the bottom. First of all, it hides everything that was happening before, and it provides a really nice modern look for the rest of the house as well.
Well, and show them the switches too, and all the outlets and everything.
Yep, absolutely. So these we upgraded. Those we're going to upgrade later as well to be the Decora. These called the Decoras. Much more modern. Looks a lot better, in my opinion. Those are the little finishes that you put in that really makes the remodel much nicer than like a builder grade. Especially, again, at this price point and the size of a unit. We're competing with other flippers in this exact project that have been on market for the last 2 or 3 months. Obviously, with the economy slowing down, tariff uncertainty and everything, we really need to do little touches like this to make them choose our unit over competing units that are already on the market. This bedroom, if you guys remember, we haven't changed too much other than just cleaning the walls up, retexturing. But the one big call out is over here was the big media center from the 70s and 80s. I don't know what they were doing with that, but it has been completely patched over. Looks so much better. And then, Aaron, I know you've got some plans with the closet that I don't even know about yet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about it. It was a surprise, yeah. And so actually, my installer is waiting by to kind of install this all and be ready to go. We're going to put mirrored sliding glass doors here. The reason I like that is because it automatically makes the space look bigger and also provides a nice mirror for if someone's trying to get ready, then they can kind of check themselves out and be ready to go. And in my opinion, it just updates it once again. It's one of those little touches that updates the house a lot better, and it will make us stand out from the rest of the comps out there.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Regarding the media closet, I do want to show you guys Aaron and his team. We were just gonna leave it as is. We were gonna leave it in kind of the condition it was and just patch it over, but they also surprised us with this and completely redid the drywall in here. We're gonna put new shelving in, so it's gonna be a proper cleaning closet. Again, at this price point, it's really, really important to have as much storage as you possibly can. So even though we weren't planning to clean it up and we were gonna keep it, Aaron's team surprised us with actually doing all new drywall, new doorknobs, and making it just cohesive with the rest of the property, which is an awesome, just little touch. All right, so we're almost finished with the interior tour. A couple more changes. We're doing a nest unit on here. Again, just small little touches that make a big difference in a small place like this. We also realized we forgot to tell you guys about the finishes for the faucets and everything else we're doing in the kitchen. So I'm gonna let Aaron touch on that just real quick before we show you guys the outside patios and rest of the property.
Perfect. So we went with a single faucet for here. We're gonna do this one here for the kitchen. I just like it, once again, it goes well with the design of the house. It comes with a soap dispenser as well. I just hate personally when there's too many things on the counter that clutter it. We also went with a smaller garbage disposal, which is the Moen one. The reason I do that is because it has enough horsepower to accommodate a 1 bedroom for here. It won't cause any issues, but the good thing is it's much narrower than the typical one, so it creates much more space underneath for all the cleaning tools and other storage.
All right, guys, now we're gonna shift gears to the outside area. If you guys recall from when we picked this up, this unit is 600 square feet, but there are not only 2 balconies, there's also a breakfast nook balcony. So there's actually more square footage outside than there is inside. So when we go to stage this, it's gonna be really, really important to tie the two together. So I'll walk you out here in a moment, but basically we're planning to create an indoor-outdoor dining experience over here. It'll be an extension of the kitchen and the bar area. So out here will be a nice seating area. We have the stager coming in an hour to kind of plan all that out. And then on the back patio over by the bedroom, we're planning more of an entertainment. We're gonna have a putting green. We're gonna have a hangout area. It's gonna be more of that family-centric or invite your friends over and hang out type of area. And then right here, real quick, because again, there are 3 separate sliders for 3 separate balcony areas. It's crazy in a condo this small. This is gonna be the breakfast nook. It'll be a nice feed off of the kitchen right here. Again, there's gonna be the waterfall countertop with seating right here. So it'll naturally just flow really well to the outdoor deck. But let me take you guys out there just to remind you guys of the nice view and kind of show you guys what we have planned. All right, so one other big change, we got the sliders fixed. We thought we were gonna have to replace these. They are original from the 70s when the building was first built. Aaron's team did a great job taking it all apart, redoing all the components so they finally work, which is great. But again, these are the massive patios we're talking about. We're gonna stage this again to be an outdoor dining area. There's a lot of construction material here right now. I'll let Aaron touch on that. You can see just how big this outdoor space is, and that is a huge selling point for a condo of this size.
Yeah, it really helped us with obviously storing the material out here, so that way it doesn't kind of bundle up in the inside. It allowed us to kind of really do the work here, keep the clutter away from the inside unit, and honestly the accessibility of, because there's stairs that go down to the street side here, so for taking trash out and then bringing the appliances and all that stuff, it really helped us kind of move along the project much faster.
And being a corner unit, you have nice views of the mountains for Palm Springs area, really easy access to downtown. We're super close to the convention center, all the local restaurants. So it's just a great unit that I think's probably gonna perform really well in the market. Time will tell. But anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. I'm gonna be sitting down with Aaron in the future to do a full 30-minute long or longer sit down about what you should avoid when you're looking for a contractor, how to find the right contractor, a bunch of questions that people typically ask, because a lot of people don't know how you find a good partner for big construction projects, you know, that are as big as you've seen on our channel or as small as this. So it's really important finding the right team. And we're gonna do a sit down very soon. So when that is available, I'll link it up above for you guys to watch it. Make sure you go check out the other content on my channel all about real estate investing, real estate projects just like this. There's a ton to watch. But anyway, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for coming along, and we'll see you next time for the final update for this unit.